Okay, and we are off. I am going to go ahead and share my screen with you tonight. Hopefully, the technology cooperates with us. Okay, and just give me a little, can everybody see me okay? And you can hear me okay? Everything and any issues here? Put it in the chat or let me know. Can everybody see my screen? Is my screen visible? Super awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, you guys, welcome to our training tonight, everybody. The training tonight, it is called Creating a Successful Transition to Fall for your DHH students. And if you haven't been to any of my trainings before, let me tell you a little bit what we're going to be doing. I'm personally kind of an action-oriented person. I'm kind of like, okay, give me the meat and let me know how it impacts me and what I can do to be able to support my students. And so we're going to we're not going to have any fluff. We're going to dig right into the good stuff tonight. Just adjusting my screen here. We're going to dig right into the good stuff tonight. And my purpose for you is to be able to have lesson plans and activities that's going to support your students to prepare for what's going to happen in the fall. I'm going to give you some opportunities for your students to be able to self-advocate, to be able to explain their modifications that support them best, and some self-reflection for them, what works for me. And all of this is embedded into lesson plans for you to be able to utilize from now until the end of the year. Now, if you are right at the end of the year, that's okay. Don't worry, you're still going to have time to be able to do this. And it's a great way to kind of wrap up, or even for you to kind of like wrap things up, even if you don't have your student with you to kind of prepare. But I have a feeling you're going to have some time with your students, and this is going to be a great way for you to kind of end things for the school year. So again, the whole point of this is to be able to make the rest of the school year for you so that you are not feeling stressed out that you've got so much to do, but to be able to give you some smooth sailing and some flexible yet impactful lesson plans. Just in case you don't know me, my name is Stephanie Kesson. I come to you as a veteran in deaf education, over 25 years in in the field of deaf ed. I started out at a residential school. I transitioned then to a self-contained classroom, which eventually kind of became a resource room. And then as the arena of deaf education changed, my role became as an itinerant teacher. I always like to point out to people that I kind of stepped into itinerant teaching, kicking and screaming. It was not a philosophy that I was trained in. It was not a philosophy that I particularly believed in. I shouldn't even say particularly. It downright was not an approach that I believed in, as I was told that I needed to become an itinerant teacher. Through the years, I have learned to navigate it, and I've learned what works. I've learned how to identify students that it works for, students that it doesn't. And I've been able to kind of get a groove. So I'm here to be able to support you so that you can feel the same way, that you have a groove. I did spend 10 years as the education specialist for children who are deaf and hard of hearing for the state of Wisconsin. And that was a huge time for me to be able to train under some of the pioneers in our field of deaf education and be able to learn from them, and then be able to support other teachers, and then be able to come back to the field as a teacher and be able to implement personally what I learned through that job. And I always like to point out to people that I am a former flailing itinerant, and I did leave the field. In fact, I left the field not once, but twice. So I've left and I've come back, and I came back because I love the students. I love the students, and there is nothing more that feeds my soul than working with them and working in this field. So if you are struggling, I want you to know there is hope. There is hope. I don't want you to struggle. This is a fantastic job to be in, and the students that you are supporting are worth it. They are amazing, and you are amazing. And I thank you for all that you're doing. In 2017, I founded the online itinerant and the signing room. What's exciting about that is that this was an online program way before COVID ever hit, before anybody knew what COVID was. So we've been around, and the goal was to be able to support people from near and far, because I knew the best way for me to support more students was actually to be able to support the adults that work with them and love on them. And lastly, I am currently the president of CADE. So if you're not familiar with CADE, CADE is the Convention of American Instructors of the Deaf. CADE is our professional organization, our national teacher organization for teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing. Founded in 1817, CADE has kind of started a reboom, a regrowth, and a relaunch. So if you're not familiar with CADE, I want you to check it out. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. So again, the online itinerant is a way to support you if you are not familiar with the online itinerant. We have nearly 900 members from around the United States that is in this community utilizing trainings, kind of like what you have here tonight, and also working with, mingling with each other and supporting each other. So if you're not familiar with the online itinerant, I hope after tonight you will be a little bit. And then here's my little tip of the hat to CADE. This is at our national organization. If you're interested in learning what's going on at a national level or be involved at a national level, this is our group. So feel free to go to cade.org and check it out. I'm pretty excited about what CADE is doing. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, enough of that. I would encourage you to stay to the end for some swag. Well, I do have kind of a gift for you that is coming, but you have to stay to the end for that. All right. How much longer do you guys have? Would you mind just kind of putting in the chat and sharing? I saw there was one person who had 12 days. When is school out for everybody? I see June 28th, June 24th. We've got a June 5th, June. So largely June's. I see a late May. Perfect. Great. So most of you have the month of May to be able to finish out, and some of you even have the month of June. That is perfect. That's going to give you some fantastic time to be able to play around with some of these things that I am introducing to you tonight. All right. So when I think of me as a teacher, uh, actually, let me backtrack a minute. I am a mom, and I'm a mom of two teenagers. And my two teenagers one of them just got her driver's license, and the other one is currently in driver's ed. And I was recently struck by the similarities of us as teachers with our students as driver's ed, the whole driver's ed philosophy towards our students. When we take driver's ed, it kind of starts off with classwork, book work. You got to learn the rules of the road. And then you get behind the wheel. And you have somebody guiding you as you are behind the wheel, and you have somebody making sure that you're doing all the right things. They're talking through the process, but you're the one who's driving. You're the one who's driving. And then if all goes well, you get your license and you get the keys to the car. I like to think of us as driver's ed instructors for our students, with them learning what works for them, how to advocate for themselves, how to navigate and problem solve. They start off kind of maybe learning that through direct instruction. And then the goal is for them to get behind the wheel, right? For them to get behind the wheel and to be practicing while we are there to guide them and support them and kind of watch them with their independent hours. But then as they continue to get good at this, then they will get the keys to their own car. And by their own car, I'm talking about their own future, because they're going to be the drivers in their future. We want them to feel that they've got a license to direct themselves and have the keys to be able to get to where they want to go in life. But in order for them to be able to really do that, They need to be able to have the skills to navigate this world. So you might be wondering, okay, why transition your students to next fall? Why would we want to do that now? And here's the reason, because this is a fantastic time for you to kind of review maybe what you've been talking about and maybe working on all year long. When we can do that, it takes mindset and it prepares our students for the fall, and it kind of creates that expectation, which builds their language, which builds their comprehension, which builds their participation, and it empowers them to be able to step strongly and confidently into that next year. In addition, though, it connects them to next year's teachers. And all of this, what I've experienced as a teacher, is it reduces their anxiety towards what's next, the unknown. It makes it a much more comfortable transition to the fall. And the other great thing about it is it is going to help provide flexibility for you during the end of the year. So open up your chat box again. Is anybody else experiencing like that you maybe you have a plan to work with the students and all of a sudden you realize you can't work with them today because it's testing, or there's a field trip, or there's a concert and they're doing a rehearsal for it, or they have a guest speaker, or something that's come up that you're like, oh, well, guess I can't work on that lesson plan today. Yep, I'm getting some thumbs up and I'm getting some yeses. You know, it throws everything off. And especially if you've got something that you're like, I really need to get this done, or I really wanted to get this done, or anything like that. So the goal is to be able to take these plans and just have them in your pocket. And if you can't meet with the student today, that's okay, because you've got it in your pocket and you're ready to do it next time you see them. It's very, very flexible. And some of these things take 10 minutes. Some of them you can extend it and you can do it over a number of times with your students, but you've got the flexibility to be able to implement it however and whenever it's going to work for you. And parents, absolutely. These are absolutely things that you can do, and we want you to do at home, because again, that end of the year transition and the end of the year, and then the transition to the fall, it can have a lot of unknowns and a lot of questions for our students and our kids. So I'm curious if anybody has been working on these things throughout the year. Understanding impact of hearing loss, explaining hearing loss, advocating reading, writing skills, and problem solving. Uh, there's a lot of different IEP goals, but I'm wondering if any of your IEP goals cover these bullets. Perfect. I'm seeing yeses, all of them. Yes, yes, all of them plus. Perfect. Then we can kind of consider this as your students and your child's final exam, right? You've been talking about it all year long. You've been talking about it, and now it's time to generalize it and make it real world. These activities are going to be so much more enjoyable for your students than kind of taking a test or filling out a form or doing a post test or anything like that. But it's a great way to evaluate and assess how much they've learned. And by the way, doesn't matter, kindergarten students, high school students, same activities, just maybe how you deliver them or how you work with your student maybe looks different. Oh, and I see that Janine says, I love the Minnesota compensatory scales because it covers all of that. Absolutely. And I use that it's one of the tools that we have in our toolbox for inside of our academies. And it's all of these things. It's almost our curriculum. And so again, these are the scales that we work on with our students. And this is our opportunity to kind of have our little final exam with them. So here's how we do this. Here's what we're going to do. There's 4 steps with this. First of all, we want to prepare your student for what lays ahead. You want them to go, okay, this is what's going to look like next year. Then you want to set goals. And this can just be conversation. It doesn't need to be an IEP meeting or anything like that. It's just a matter of having the conversation and kind of saying, all right, these are what we want to do. This is what we want to work on. Then together, you're going to work on how to prepare your teachers ahead of time. And again, we are going to be pouring in all the things that you've been working on with your students from the rest of the year. After you've done all of those things, you're going to go back and you're going to talk about it again. You're going to review what's going to happen next year. What did we want to do? Did we do it? Great job. And we're going to continue to talk about this as we continue our slideshow. All right. Step 1, prepare your student for what lies ahead. What we want to do is, teachers now are talking to their students about next year. They maybe say, ooh, next year, when you enter first grade, your first grade teacher is going to expect you to be able to do this. Your fourth grade teacher is going to expect you to do this, especially students who are transitioning to make the next level up to middle school or high school. So they might be hearing a lot of this. So we want to like revisit with them and kind of like go, all right, so what are you expecting is going to be different next year? How are we going to prepare for this? We want you to have this conversation with your students so that they can kind of think through it, process it, build the language for it, and identify their needs. And then again, we're going to create those goals of how we can support your students through this. And we're going to create ways to connect with your teachers now. So you're going to talk through all of these things with your student. Let them know what we're going to do. This is kind of like our list. They want to know, like, what's the point? What are we doing? How are we doing? So when we start thinking about the fall, oftentimes as teachers right now, maybe you're thinking about what class or classes your student will be in. If you do this, go ahead, put it in the chats. Do you have anything to say? Like, do you have any inputs on what classes your student should be in, who the teacher would be, what a good environment is for them? Because if you know who the student's teacher will be in the fall, that's really helpful. But if you don't, that's okay. You want to be thinking about who might be the teacher, what's the environment going to be, what will the student need to advocate for? But here's what we want to do with our students. I know I spent lots of time, me, digging into this and thinking about it. But it wasn't until just a few years ago that I started getting my student involved in it. So now what I do is we take a tour of the hall and we take a look at what those classes look like, what those teachers are doing, how the students are sitting. Is it a noisy environment? Does the teacher look really strict? Can we hear them very well? So I actually like to have the student observe this ahead of time with me. So we just kind of walk around, right? We want to look at what does the little kids do compared to the big kids? What does this teacher do compared to that teacher? And then as we're peeking in, I go, all right, if you were in this class right now, where would be a good place for you to sit? And we start kind of analyzing that and talking through that with the students. And again, this can be little children, this can be older students. And we want to see it in action. A lot of times we tour the school like a week before school starts, but there's no students in there, right? The classrooms aren't ready. It's not really real world yet. So we want to talk about it when it's happening. And then I like to say to the student, if this was your class, what would be challenging for you? And then you wouldn't believe some of the information that I get from students. Like they talk about how loud it is or how the windows are open and the guy is mowing the lawn outside at the same time, or that the teacher is kind of quiet, or maybe that the teacher's yelling all the time. So the students start talking about these challenges. So then we can really start brainstorming with the student about what would they need to do if this was their teacher next year. And if you know who their teacher is going to be, this is really great for them to see. So then we have an accessibility considerations worksheet. Now, this is one of the resources I will be emailing to you after this training. And this is also will be inside of the teaching toolbox. Inside the teaching toolbox, if you're a member of the Professional Academy or the Friend Academy, the Professional Academy for professionals, the Friend Academy is for family members. We have hundreds of resources and we've got a bunch of resources for transition, and we've got a bunch of assessments. We've got just tons of tools to be able to support you. And there's a number of accessibility evaluations. This one is a simple worksheet that you can do with your students. Now, I just want to make sure you can all see this little worksheet right here. If you can't see it, stop me. Let me know. So we've got this worksheet. Now, this is, again, we could go way in depth, but we're really just kind of doing some general discussion. Like, all right, we've seen this, we've seen these classes. Now let's go back. Let's talk about this worksheet. Where do you like to sit to hear and see the best in class? So we talk about it. Do you like the front? Do you like the back? I have a lot of students who prefer kind of like the middle or the center and the back, not in the front. They don't like the front. They want to be able to have visual access to everybody. So we talk about it. And then we talk about away from what? What do you want to be away from? And then we talk about what background things distracts a student. Now, this can be both visual and auditory. We get a lot of information about this. So again, we're having the conversation with the student with this. This is just a quick worksheet that we go through. We talk about when we like captions. We talk about if there's an interpreter. If there's an interpreter, where do we want the interpreter to be? Sometimes the interpreter is right in front of the student. Sometimes they're on the corner. Sometimes they're by the teacher walking around. So is there a preference? What works best? We get to start engaging in these discussions with our students, and we build on it and we talk about it. So much of this is being able to talk about these things with our students. All right, let's see if I can get back to this. Okay, great. So again, this is going to get mailed out to you. It's also one of the resources that's inside of the toolbox if you're a member of the Academy. This is something parents can do. You don't have to be the teacher of the deaf. You can be a SLP, a special ed teacher, but having this conversation is what's important, getting your student to talk about it. All right. So now after we've sort of kind of taken in what to expect and maybe what some of the challenges are going to be and what we need to make sure that teachers are prepared for, this is where the fun begins. All right. This is where the fun begins because we want to make sure that we're able to communicate these things with our teachers. So this is where it gets good. Now, I know there's lots of activities and I hear all kinds of fun things. I hear about amazing PowerPoint presentations. I hear all kinds of different ideas. We're going to talk about 3 tonight, and maybe you're familiar with them. Maybe they're new to you, but these are some fun resources for you. We're going to talk about the elevator speech. We're going to talk about a brochure. We're going to talk about a Loom video. If you know me, you know I love Loom videos, but we're going to talk more about it in a second. It doesn't have to be Loom. We're going to get there. All right. Are you guys familiar with the elevator speech? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Are you familiar? And do you have an elevator speech? Every teacher of the deaf needs an elevator speech, I tell you. All right. Every student needs an elevator speech. Every student who has a hearing loss needs an elevator speech. And every teacher needs an elevator speech. Amy Lawrence just put in the chat that she's heard about it for business mostly, which I love that you said that because that's actually where I heard about it. When I stepped into the online itinerant and I needed to learn some things about how to like run a program, I started getting trainings in businesses and they started talking about this elevator speech thing. And I was like, yeah, I need this. My students need this. And I started to run with this. So it is very popular in business, but we need it. We need it for ourselves and we need it for our students. So what is an elevator speech? An elevator speech is how to introduce yourself concisely, really 60 seconds or less. The time it takes to get on the elevator as somebody and go up to the top floor for you to be able to introduce yourself. This is what we need to know. You want to tell them who you are, why they care, right? Why are you telling me this and what they need to know? I call it NTKs, the need to knows. And this is what we do with this is that this gives your student the opportunity to disclose their hearing loss, share the important information like preferred classroom arrangements or optimal learning environments, and then they kind of like give a short appreciation for their teacher. If you have ever tried to explain to somebody what you do and you start to realize that you just start rambling and you lost them 2 minutes ago, but you really can't stop because you're not done and they're just giving you this blank look like they really have no idea what you're saying. Has anybody else been there? Anybody else experienced that? Maybe it's just me that used to be like I could stop talking. I couldn't summarize it. I couldn't do it quick enough. And so this stops that. This gives a hook and it is very concise. Here's the other thing that it does is it establishes your student as the expert in their own needs. So the teacher no longer feels like they've got to connect with you to ask you a question about where they should be sitting. The teacher doesn't have to connect with you to ask you what their needs are. It establishes them as the expert, so the teacher goes directly to them. Not only that, but it impresses the teacher. They go, wow, that kid's a rock star. And it sets a really great first impression. So we want that. We want our students, we want to empower our students to be able to do that. All right, so I am going to show you in my opinion, the most famous elevator speech of all time. I'm going to be dating myself here with this. Let me see if I can get this, and it's past this is The Princess Bride. Can you see my video here? Favorite movie of all time. All right, so great. Okay, here we go. Here is the most famous elevator speech. So the story is Inigo Montoya has been practicing his elevator speech his entire life. And finally now he's prepared to use it for real, but he's been practicing it.
Good heavens. Are you still trying to win? You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance. It's going to get you into trouble someday.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Stop saying that! Oh. Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die! No! Offer me money. Yes. Power to promise me that. All that I have and more. Please. Offer.
All right. So come back to my screen. Send. Uh-oh. All right. So what is he doing? He's introducing himself. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. Why he's telling, why do you need to know? Why do you care? You killed my father. And then he's telling him what he needs to do. Prepare to die. So in this movie, he's practicing this over and over again because he's ready to meet the man who killed his father. But you'll see that our character actually gets stronger and stronger the more he says it. And he actually is empowered to be in control of the situation. And really, when we have this elevator speech, that's what we're doing for our students. We're empowering them to feel confident and to be able to step into a place where they are taking the lead and they are empowered and they are able to ask for what they need. And the teacher can be prepared and can know how to best serve them. Oh, I hope my pictures showed up. Oh, nuts. What happened here? Okay, let's see what happens if I do it. I want you guys to see this picture. Let's see if I can get it here to the front. Oh, all right. Well, I guess you can't see my second picture. It's okay. Here we go. Come on. All right. So this is a picture of me and Derek Coleman. I met Derek Coleman just last weekend. If anybody was in Wisconsin, I had some familiar faces that were also there with me and Derek Coleman. Derek Coleman is a former NFL player, played for the Seattle Seahawks and went to the Super Bowl with them 2 times. He is profoundly deaf. And he presented and he talked about his experiences and what he needed to do to be successful and to be able to get through school. Now, he didn't call it this, but it's exactly what it was. He had an elevator speech. He would go up, to this day, he goes up and he introduces himself. Hello, my name is Derek Coleman and I am deaf. Now, Derek is a fantastic lip reader, and that is how he is able to access what's happening. So he says, hello, my name is Derek Coleman and I am deaf. I read lips. I need you to look at me at all times when you're speaking. He immediately gives that elevator speech, and that's what empowers him, and that's what makes him successful. People know that he means business. He's done that all the way through, and he did it in the NFL. The picture that you can't see on here is me and Tina Childress. So if you maybe have met Tina Childress, maybe you're familiar with her. She is an audiologist who became deaf, and she is now a bilateral cochlear implant user. And she actually uses the term an elevator speech for herself. And she's got an elevator speech. She goes up and she introduces herself wherever she is. And she says, hello, my name is Tina. I am deaf and this is what I need. And she does it at the airport. She does it at dinners. She does it at conferences. She just lets people know. So we want our students to be prepared to step into that. And we start it young. We start it young. So I have a worksheet for you so that you can create an elevator speech with your students. This shouldn't take very long. You can actually do it very quickly because this is what we need to do. They need to introduce themselves, say why that person cares, needs to know, and then just do the most basic NTKs, what that teacher needs to know. Where do they want to sit? Are they going to wear an FM technology? Will there be an interpreter? What do they need to know? So you can help your student develop this. If they're young and they can't write, then you can write. If they're older and they can, then you can have them write it. But this is something that they can actually create and take with them and have it at all times. They can use it in the classroom. They can use it when they go to swim team. They can use it when they are at an overnight party or a birthday party. They can use it for any of those environments, but we are empowering our students. Now, what we want to do is we want them to be ready to share it with their teachers next year. And if you have a chance, you can even walk them down the hall and have them practice it. So that's our elevator speech workshop. Again, this will come out to you in a training, or I mean, in an email after this, and it will be in the toolbox for those of you who are Academy members. I will put this in there for you so that you have access to it all the time. The last activity, nope, not the last activity, the next activity I want to talk to you about, you might be familiar with this concept, is a brochure. So this is a fun project. I actually have one here to show you. So this is a brochure a student makes, and they can kind of hand it to their teacher, put it in a mailbox, and it kind of gives them a little bit more information. This is basically the same thing as a PowerPoint slideshow, but it kind of just summarizes it into a brochure. I'm actually giving you this beautiful template so that you can create this. And let me show you a little better what this looks like. So this was one of my students that I had. He created this. We put his picture. We talk about his FM. We let the teacher know what his other hobbies and interests are. Yeah, Green Bay Packer fan. But here's something that I want to show you on here. Okay, so we've got pictures of his hearing aids. We've got talking about the FM, how his hearing aids help, how they don't help, how the FM helps, how the FM doesn't help. It's a little training. This is a little in-service that your student is giving to their teacher. And I love this part. Things to know. I don't know if you guys can, well, you guys can read this. I hate it when I don't hear somebody and then they tell me, never mind. And this, it embarrasses me when people ask, can you hear me? Because that's what our students always hear, and they kind of don't like it. So my students always like to tell their teachers, please don't ask me that. So we can say it. And then we tell them, okay, but if you don't like it, that means you have to talk to your teacher about it. So inside this, this is also going to be, this is also in the toolbox. And this also will get mailed out to you. So all you have to do is you can just fill in the blanks if you like. Again, if you've got a student who wants to do it, they can do it. Otherwise, you can be the person who takes it in and dictates it. And then you can print it. You can put it in next teacher's mailbox. You can have your student walk it to them. They can hang on to it and deliver it in the fall. What's also very nice about the brochure is easy to modify. You create it once and then you can modify it in future years. So it's really nice in that way. Now sometimes kids, they don't like to hand it, right? They don't like to hand it to the teacher. So the other thing that we can do is that we can, instead of having a student hand them the brochure, they can explain the exact same things on here in a video in service. So I like to use Loom. I'm going to show you Loom, but there's lots of other video opportunities that you can do. But this is a great way for your student to practice their elevator speech and then go deeper. You can be with them and you can guide this conversation, but it helps your teacher get to know your students. And you can include the impact of hearing loss. You can identify the FM system and the interpreter. You can talk about modifications, but you do it all in the video now. And then you either can send it to your teacher ahead of time or else you have it in the fall. So let me just show you what this looks like. Here's one that I did. One of my students. Looks like this.
And I wear hearing aids.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Kesson, and I am the teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing. And I want to introduce you to one of my students and one of your students. This is, you want to introduce yourself?
Jacob. And I wear hearing aids because it's hard to hear sometimes.
Very.
So I won't play you the whole thing, but basically I'm this takes one session. We don't need anything to prep. We just say, hey, let's make a little video, but we're going to introduce yourself to next year's teachers. Now we've probably been talking about this, or else I just kind of interview and I say, what do we want to make sure that your teachers know? And again, we are pouring in these skills that you have probably been talking about all year long. Now I do this through Loom. Loom is, there's a training inside the Professional Academy on this. But you can just go to loom.com and it's free. You can get a free account. What's nice about Loom is it's just really, really, really easy. You click a button, it records it, and then it keeps it in your Loom library, and it just sends it in the click of a button. Just a real piece of cake. But what's nice about this also is that you now have this in service from your students who you can send to next year's teachers or the specialists, anybody who's working with the kiddo. I have had teachers say, "Oh my gosh, I loved your video. I loved that you shared those things with me." And the students feel so empowered about that. And they feel good. They're practicing that elevator speech. They're practicing being able to share that information. All right. But not everybody is comfortable handing a brochure, or maybe you don't know who the teachers are yet. So you can actually draft and schedule emails. So do you guys know how to schedule emails? Anybody know how to do this?
Hey, Stephanie, before we go on to scheduling emails,
Yeah.
we had a question about if you need to get parent permission
Oh,
to
great.
record students.
Yeah, awesome. So every school that I have worked at has at the beginning of the school year has kids fill out like the permission to video or take pictures. So you want to double check that your student has that on file. And it's always good just to let parents know that that's happening. And I wouldn't share the information publicly, right? Out here, I got permission from this parent to be able to share this, but in general, most schools have this as part of the onboarding of entering school in the beginning of the school year. If you have a student who does not have that, it's always safe to let to ask permission to let your parents know that that's your plan. So, great question. Are there any other questions that I have missed? Okay.
The other question was, do you have ideas for like maybe middle school age students who don't want to acknowledge their hearing loss or their need for accommodations?
Yeah. So, some of these conversations about like when you are walking past the classrooms and you're peeking in the windows and you're like, "Hey, what would be hard about this?" Um, having that conversation. The other thing that's really valuable is sometimes this whole video or writing these things, like the even just talking about it, like, what don't you like? They're not comfortable because of some reason. They're not comfortable when people ask them about their hearing aids. They're not comfortable because maybe people tease them about their hearing aids. So it's really valuable for them to say, you know what, we want the teacher to know what they need to know, but we'll also let them know what you don't like. And then even start that conversation of setting up a system. So many students, they don't, especially in middle school, it seems like this is that age where they don't want that FM, or they don't want that to pass off that microphone. And so often it's a matter of talking with the teacher ahead of time and kind of figuring out what that system might look like and being able to do that privately. So being able to share, like, I don't like to talk about this stuff, but I will do it, and kind of, again, it's in the discussion. It's in the discussion with them. So, if students who don't acknowledge that they have a hearing loss or that it has any impact at all, then what we want to go to is we just want to kind of stick to then your whole teaching curriculum is being able to build awareness and there are some real strategies to do that, which are, in my opinion, not necessarily geared towards the student, but geared towards other people and their lives and how they live, and then allowing the student that space to kind of resonate with it or not, and be able to have that discussion. That's a totally different training. So we'll have to go there different time. I am seeing Jamie says that she has her kids make a hearing portfolio and they present it at their IEP meeting. I love that. Yes, everybody brags about their self-advocacy skills. The more we talk about it with our students and the more we give them the voice to talk about it easily, the more we empower them. And that's what we're doing. We're the driver's ed teacher, putting them at the wheel and just sort of like guiding them to be able to do it. So you're going to love this. If you are not familiar with scheduling emails, when I discovered this, it was a game changer for me. You or your students and your student can actually write an email to next year's teacher, and you can draft it now and you can schedule it to be sent anytime. This is absolutely brilliant, because you can practice the elevator speech. You can work on it together for your older students. You can actually have them do it from their email. I like to give my computer to my student and say, here, you type it. You type it from my account. And then they're typing it. Or I say, okay, I'll type it and you dictate it. And then they dictate it. So we're really just kind of creating those skills for them to be able to do it on their own. But you can schedule it now. You can send it now, but you can schedule it, or if you need to draft it, then you can draft it. I love to send mine out before open house. I actually send it twice. I send it now at the end of the year and then again at the beginning of the year. So this is what this looks like. If you are a Gmail user, it looks just like this. Under the send, where the send is, there's this tiny little arrow. You can click if you're now, anybody here Google users, Gmail? This is what it looks like in Gmail. Outlook has a similar, it has the same opportunity, but it might look a little bit different. But see the little arrow here? So when you click on that arrow, it says schedule the send. And then you can pick the date and time when you want to schedule it. So this is really nice because again, you can practice it with your student and you can schedule it. And I actually schedule them to my student too. I send one and I say, okay, we're gonna write this now to you, but I'm gonna send it to you in the end of August so that you remember what we've been talking about. And then I give all the reminders. What have we been working on? And we do that. Game changer. So again, all of this is going to set it up so that when your teachers start in the fall, they know about your students. They already know the student's needs. They're already going to feel connected to that student. And that takes a load off of you. And it helps their nervousness or any anticipation or anxiety that they have walking into the school year, because they've already done these things for themselves and they've already met and probably had some conversations with the teachers. And as Jamie Jenkins said, it kind of blows the teachers away when they've got students that do that. It really does. So now that you've done those things, you've talked about those things with your students, you kind of revisit. We kind of go back and we say, hey, so you're getting ready to go into the 4th grade next year, or maybe to be a senior or whatever grade it is, right? You're getting ready to do that. And we wanted to make sure that your teachers knew about you and knew what your needs were. And we wanted to do these things. So you're kind of revisiting what is it all for? What is it all for? Again, we're scaffolding, we're building that information, we're giving that language, and we're bookending why. We'll talk about it before, talk about it after. So then you want to check in with them. Like we wanted to do these things and we did it, right? Or maybe we didn't get to it. So what are we going to do next? What's going to happen? Check in with them, see how they're feeling, see if there's anything else that they want to make sure happens. And then we want to, of course, remind them of action steps for the fall. And again, if you're a family, if you're a parent who's doing this, even better. Or if you're partnering with your teachers so that we kind of know, okay, great, it's time for open house. Do you remember your elevator speech? We're going to go back in. We want to practice it. We want to give it to them. Go find your brochure. We want to make sure that we can put it, we know who to ask for. We can put it in the teacher's mailbox or hand it to them when it's time. So then we remind the students of what we're going to do in the fall and how it's going to benefit them. And then I'll tell you, after your students have done this, now it's like you have passed your final exam. You are getting closer to having the keys to the car to be able to drive yourself. And I love to point out the adults that do this, the Derek Colemans, the Tina Childresses, the other kids, the other adults that you see that you know who does this. And it does not need to be exclusively people with hearing loss, because adults do it all the time. We don't even realize that we do it. So pointing that out to our students as well. So I'm going to pause for a second. I just gave a whole lot of information really quick. Are there questions that we've got?
Stephanie, is the brochure in the toolbox already?
The brochure, there is not, this brochure is not in the toolbox already, but it will be. It will be. So it will be mailed out after this presentation. It will be emailed out, and then it will live in the toolbox forever.
Perfect. I think that's the only question I see.
Okay. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Does this feel doable to you? Stop this for a second. Does it feel like it's something that there would be any challenges that would be presented? I loved the question about the students who don't want to talk about it, right? And I see there's a comment about the time. And that's one of the things I would love to point out is that these don't need to take a lot of time. Your elevator speech can be short. I would say if you can only do one thing, I would do the video. I would have your student introduce themselves and have that, because you've got that in your library. And it doesn't take long. Hey, we've got 10 minutes. Let's go. Let's make a quick video and do this. Then you've got it. And then you can always talk about it with them, and then you can develop some of these other things after the video. Yep. And I see a comment that teachers sometimes change in the fall. So regarding email schedule, great point. So then you just draft it. So then you create the draft and you don't put the person in, because sometimes you don't even know who, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, and I see someone said, I often get the feeling that the teacher doesn't watch the video that I sent. So that's kind of one of the neat things about Loom, is that you can actually see when they've watched it, And I do like to say, hey, sent you a really important video. The student made it just for you, and kind of mentioning that to them. Here's the thing. Of course, everybody's busy right now. It's the end of the year for them too. And a recent survey pointed out that teachers often get over 100 emails a day. So, they're trying to filter out what's important and what's not, can they skip and what they can't. The nice thing about the video is you can kind of send it multiple times, end of the year, during the summer, fall. Just want to make sure you saw this. And then again, you can check and see when it's been commented on, or when it's been viewed. YouTube videos also show views. Yep. And YouTube videos that you can put a security monitor on that. The Loom videos you can also do as well. You can have only the people who are invited, or you can have anybody who has the link. So I've got a few more goodies for you guys. Let me find my screen share again. All right. This part right here where we go back and we talk about it with our students often gets forgotten. We really, for comprehension's sake and for building scaffolding and understanding for our students, it is really, really valuable to kind of talk about before and then revisit after. Make sure they understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they felt about it. Sometimes they've got the wrong perception. Sometimes they have a huge gap and they miss it. And you don't really realize it till you ask them about it afterwards. This always happens with events, with things that they've seen, with things that they've heard, with things that they've learned in class. So it's always really valuable to kind of have a closure on it and to kind of do a little check-in and revisit. And then talk, hey, we did it. We accomplished this goal and celebrate it. It's a big deal for a student to be able to do these things. So do something really fun to celebrate. So I know, I promised you guys a little gift bag. If we were at a conference, I would have a table and I would have all kinds of goodies for you guys to pick up. Inside, if you are, especially if you're a visitor, but not only for visitors, but there's a little QR code here. This gives you a little gift basket from me. And this has a few booklets. So one is called the 60-second plan. For delivering Rockstar itinerant services. It's just sort of some ideas, kind of like what we talked about today for our students to wrap up the school year. Some big hitting ways to navigate if you are an itinerant teacher. There's another booklet called 6 Pillars for Parents. It's going to help parents kind of like understand, how can I create the foundation to be able to support my child and just be able to support them and have a strong foundation for their futures. There's another ebook about sign your way to fluency if you are working on your sign language skills. But then also I've got some assessments for you and some games, a little peek inside of the teaching toolbox. For those of you who are just not yet members, I also want you to know that you can have free access into the Professional and Friend Academy, so you can see what it's all about when you go to our website, theonlineitinerant.com. There's like a free sneak peek or a little glimpse that you can get for 24 hours. I like you to see this because you'll be able to catch a glimpse of our parent trainings, which is part of the Friend Academy. Because if you're a teacher, then you get the Friend Academy automatically for the parents on your caseload. So you can work together, so you can work as a team, but it takes the load off of you. I want to be able to give you more time and more freedom to be able to connect with the parents that you work with. And so this is just a great way to say, hey, there's a great training in here I want to show you, or let's go to this training together, or this is what I'm working on with your child. And it supports both you as the professional as well as parents. So go ahead and check that out. Hopefully you've had a chance to scan it. And then I want you to know that I am on Instagram. So go ahead and find me. I like to give away things. So on Fridays, I like to give away free things on Fridays. So check out Instagram, find me, and hopefully you've also found me on Facebook so that you know that I'm there. Let me just take a peek. Wow, I'm doing pretty good on my time. Again, I am available for questions. One of the things, again, that I love about this community is all the different ideas and all the different resources that get shared. And I want to encourage you to share those resources. We do this when we do our power hours. The Professional Academy, also the Friend Academy, has power hours where we can come together as a community and ask questions, share resources, and do all of those fun things. All right. Now, if you got the email, you saw that I am giving away an Amazon gift card for somebody who registered for our training. So if you are still here, hang tight because I'm going to get you this. We're going to see who the winner of the gift card is. And I've got a number wheel. This is how I do this. So we had 152 people who registered for this training. So this is what I'm going to do. I've got the numbers 1 to 152. I'm going to spin the wheel and then I'm going to go back and see who was that number of person who registered. So I'll show you the list. We'll go down, we'll hone in on that person, and that person will get an email that congratulates them with an Amazon gift card. All right, so 152 registrations. I am going to spin the wheel right here. This is the best part. And our winner is number 107. Okay, so who is the lucky winner? 107. So what I have to do here's my registrations. And this is number 1 through 25. So then this is, whoops, this is going to be 25 through 50. This is 50 through 75. Here's to 100. So now I need to go from 100. Here we go. So here's 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kate Hancock, are you here with us today live? If you are, then you are the lucky winner for tonight. Is Kate here by chance? All right. Well, Kate is going to be getting an email from me, and she is going to get her Amazon gift card. All right. And that actually wraps up my training for you tonight. I do have a certificate of training for you that I'm going to put in the chat box for you if you just want to hang out for one more second. And feel free to, any questions that are asked or anything like that, just let me know. And I'm just going to grab this for any of you who are looking for the training certificate.
Stephanie, I don't know if you're able to throw up the QR code one more time. It looks like maybe somebody still needs to scan it.
Sure can. Yep. Hold on one second. Let me grab the certificate for people.
Stephanie, someone also asked if you would be able to share the rest of your student video.
Yeah, we have time, don't we? Sure can. Okay, whoops. I'm having a hard time pulling up this, and I meant to have it pulled up already. Here we go. Okay, you guys, thanks for your patience. Where are you? I think I'll go ahead and I'm going to stop our recording.